All right, so my name is Thierry Modir. I'm a technical sales specialist with Cisco, which is a Thales company. So Thales is providing a unique solution to address new architecture for electric and electronic architecture in cars. And this solution is based on PikeOS, which is a real-time operating system, but also a hypervisor. And when you hear hypervisor, you think about virtualization and being able to host on the same platform multiple guest operating systems like Windows, Android, Linux. So there are some key drivers behind these solutions. And one of them is, for instance, we are seeing in the automotive market the same revolution, the same transformation, that already happened a few years ago in the avionics markets. So the transition from federated, distributed architectures, where you have many embedded computers, many electronic control units in your system, in your car, which each are hosting a single functionality. And the transition now is to go towards integrated and modular architectures. So we bring together on the same shared computing unit, on the same embedded computer, multiple functionalities. This, of course, is not easy to achieve because this different functionality, in particular in the automotive, but also in transportation market, in avionics, have very different safety and security requirements. So when you consolidate, you still need to ensure that each function will operate adequately and will respect their safety and security requirements. A second driver, of course, is the increased demand for connectivity. A car now is, you can see it as a smart, very smart IoT device. So it requires connection with the outside world to be able to send telemetry data, to be able to receive software updates, for instance, and for other different reasons. There is also a demand for adherence to open industry standards in order to offer an architecture that it's much more open, so allows an integration of solution, of function from different third party much more easily. And in that regards, we are happy to announce the recent joint venture with Vector Informatics, which is a key player in the automotive industry, and that allows us to offer solution that will be compatible with AutoSAR, for instance, which is very well used in the automotive industry. So these are the main drivers for Thales to offer this kind of solution, which is really, again, a feat, as it's really not easy and very complex to achieve the design of such system. So as I said, today your car will have dozens and dozens of embedded computers, of electronic control units, each running a particular application. For instance, on your far right, you would have a real-time application that is fairly critical that needs to access sensor data, maybe do some minimal processing before sending it to another functionality of the car. You will also have, as you can see here, some examples, graphical functionality. For instance, a digitalized instrument cluster that you can see on many cars these days. You will also have some infotainment or navigation functions on your car. But behind the scene, you will also have other functionality like secure communication gateways to ensure safe communication between the outside world and functionality within the car, but also communication gateway to ensure proper, safe, and secure communication between the different computing units that are in the car these days. So as an example of this new architecture, new consolidated and modular architecture, you have here on this diagram the consolidation of all these functions into one single multi-core embedded computer, the one that you are seeing here. So this has 8 cores, fairly powerful, and that allows us to run in parallel all these functionality which today are still executed separately on different ECUs. Of course, PikeOS sits on top of these embedded computers and will guarantee the adequate separation between these different functions. Again, I mean, each of these functions have different level of safety and security requirements. So it's important to only authorize certain communication flow or prevent communication flow altogether between some of these functions. So PikeOS, as a hypervisor and real-time operating system, is responsible to fully control the accesses to the computing unit resources like memory, CPU bandwidth, I/O controllers, and communication channels. So as an example, to also demonstrate the fact that you have a secure communication gateway that ensures you safe communication between the outside world and critical functionality within the system. I have here, for instance, a tablet, so it's connected via Wi-Fi to this system and showing some simple dashboard information that allows me to interact with the system. For instance, showing some telemetry data. Sorry. So you have some engine temperature information that is being displayed on this graph, and I can also interact with a different function running in parallel on the system. So for instance, if PikeOS achieve its functionality, I should be able to restart the communication functionality while the other functions run untouched. So you shouldn't see any impact on the behavior, for instance, of that digital cluster. So if I reboot the communication VM, I will lose the telemetry data. So while this communication VM is rebooted, I have no more information about the engine temperature, but still the mission critical functionality, like speed and engine alarm information is still being displayed on the screen. That may seem simple, but it's not that simple. Because of course, this has a different security and safety requirement than the communication function, for instance. And PikeOS allows you to guarantee these adherence to these different safety and security requirements. It has been formally certified using international standard for security and safety. So it's not just something that you have to trust me about. Independent organizations have actually been looking into the code, have been doing penetration testing to guarantee that the security and the safety altogether achieved by PikeOS meet international standards. So what I would like you to, before you opening for question, the takeaway from this is that Thales is investing effort and money into the automotive market. A good example of it is the recent joint venture with Vector Informatics in order to provide solution for this kind of new integrated modular architecture. And PikeOS, the other takeaway is PikeOS, the real-time operating system and hypervisor is really state-of-the-art solution in order to answer the requirement of such integrated and modular system. The characteristic of PikeOS will allow you also to design additional feature like over-the-air software update, secure boot, which will also rise the level of security and safety of your platform. Thank you.